Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Have you ever met someone that you believed to be true evil /X/? Could have been in passing on the street, a friend of a friend, someone at work, a random stranger, or whatever. That interaction that just raises every type of red flag on Earth in the worst possible way. I'd love to hear any experiences.
You think you know what true evil is? You've never been inside a bad nursing home. There may come a point in your life where you are no longer able to care for yourself. You may be weak, disabled, relieving yourself in your pants and unable to contribute anything to those around you. You are now a liability. You are someone's problem, and they're going to get rid of you. But maybe you spent your entire life providing for your family. You worked hard every day, and now you deserve to be loved and cared for in your most fragile, exploitable state, right? Wrong. You're about to go to prison. Except this isn't a regular prison. This is one where you will be physically incapable of protecting yourself, have little or no way of contacting anyone, and have no expectation of ever leaving. Your existence is about to become the most terrifying thing imaginable. You will be brought to a place that smells like poop, fake eggs, and death. You'll be put in a dim, dirty room where angry, overworked, desensitized nurses visit multiple times a day to yell at you, touch you inappropriately, and force medications on you. A nurse could come in one night and beat you, strangle you, or assault you. Worse, someone may not come at all. You could be left for hours or days in an uncomfortable position, developing bed sores, soiling yourself and miring in your own filth. All of this, while being too weak to defend yourself and too demented to seek help. These things can happen every single day for the rest of your life, and nobody will know and nobody will care. You will experience living hell. If you wouldn't want to end up like this, you don't want your family to either. It doesn't matter if you don't have the time or money to take care of them. It doesn't matter if you think the facility doesn't look so bad after all. It doesn't even matter if you think they deserve it. To be sent to one of these places is a fate worse than death. Never abandon your family. Do not bring them to nursing homes.
If you can keep your elder ones, it's great. My mom had dementia and my dad did everything alone, followed her 4 months later due to cancer. It was his choice, okay. My grandma is senile and can't move, sent in retirement home by a family member who already put her father in there. I'm so sick of that gloomy place, but the government made sure family cores were destroyed long ago. My grandma is on opioid with a full hard depression. It truly feels like ditching someone who helped you be who you are now. My say is you can't get your elder ones better alone, taking care of everything unless you rather die than feel like a culprit. You need a family network, place and a lot of care to honor them, cause not everybody can be a full-time nurse. Both ways will have their toll on you anyways. Stay strong.
Some of the words in following tell has been replaced to appease YouTube. Please look at the video if a term comes up that you don't understand.
I know many. Criminals, violent offenders, psychopaths. I will talk about one. A 30-year-old convicted violent felon, an all-around scumbag piece of shit woman beating Chris Chan. Also a Minecraft YouTuber. I outed him publicly for what he did to my 19-year-old friend. I'm 20. But I'll start from the beginning. Met a girl who was 12 when he was 17. He assaulted her many times, groomed her until she was 18, and then began dating her. He was sexually and physically violent, and after spraining her wrist by throwing her into a wall, she tried to break up with him in a car. He wasn't having that. He essentially Chris Browned her, except he actually left, but only when she was unconscious. Strangled her, smashed her head into the dashboard and windows, breaking everything including her face and nose, and nearly blinding her. Had priors and a conviction for drug-related crimes, and spent a year in prison. He does not have a job or a car and lives off the charity of his weird enabling mother and sells drugs. After he was released, he moved to a different part of the state. That's what he does. He does what he does to women until he gets arrested, and then moves to another city and repeats. He also does other criminal things and has multiple DUIs. I don't know exactly what happened, but he went back to prison for communicating criminal threats to another girl. He was also dating a high schooler in his mid-20s. I have looked him up and have found multiple arrests, most including domestic violence arrests against women. There are 3 publicly available, 1 court summary available, and more you can find if you really look. He has multiple children and a pattern of poking holes in condoms and using children to trap his victims. We'll get to that a bit later. He moved to my city and made a Facebook and added everyone between the ages of 18 to 21, including my stepsisters, one who is 15 I had to tell him to stay away from. I'm talking 5,000 friends. Most of them are young girls, all of them people 10 years younger than him. He does not have any friends and has never dated anyone his own age. He not only solely hangs around 18 to 21-year-olds, he acts like them too. Something screwed up happened to this guy that made him mentally 16 forever. Anyway, this guy would a dozen accounts and spam at literally everyone, but his friends list was mostly young girls. He was a sexual and violent predator who would prey on 16 to 21-year-old girls with mental issues, drug issues, daddy issues, etc. All around vulnerable and messed up young girls. When he got here, his first girlfriend was a 17-year-old, took videos of her and sent them around to girls he was trying to have sex with without their knowledge. Illegal and revenge porn enthusiast. He eventually got his hooks into my 19-year-old friend. She's a drug addict, assault victim, parentless bastard, bipolar, and autistic to top it all off. Perfect victim for this. He would come to her house. Yes, the 19-year-old has a house and the 30-year-old doesn't. Drunk as shit, screaming at her, and would throw her on the couch and start strangling her. If you don't know, in domestically violent relationships, the predator strangling their victim increases the risk of homicide by over 1,000%. If he does not go to prison for life like he should, he will kill one of these girls eventually. That is not a possibility, it is a guarantee. She came out on her profile about him, and I shared it. I later made a post about what a degenerate he was, all the shit he gets up to with a picture of his face, and told every one of my 18 to 21-year-old friends to block him, and to leave if you see him in public. I got a message at 4 a.m. from another one of my 19-year-old friends. She was asking if I could help her. She showed me messages and screen recordings of him threatening her, voice messages of him on drugs and drunk screaming at the top of his lungs at her. Multiple nights a week for several weeks, I helped her go to the police station with his threats against her, against others. I'm gonna take everyone out. I just lost my job today. Let's go back to prison. And against me, I'm going to attack you if I see you in public. He eventually tried to come to my grandma's house on the 4th of July. More on that later. The police said to us that he was just a troll and to block him. Yeah, okay. The violent convicted attempted murderer with 3 separate publicly documented domestic violence arrests who assaults 12-year-olds and shares revenge porn of very young girls is just a troll. Okay, so I decided, screw this idiot. This guy isn't bothering with my friends anymore. It's a Me Too rush on social media. Someone asks me for his information to post. I give her links to his domestic violence arrests, court records, and prison records, along with testimonials from 3 girls. She posts all of it. He makes at least 100 comments on this 18-year-old's post with a bunch of other late teens/early 20s people commenting like an idiot, saying all these girls are getting over tea together to lie to ruin this random 30-year-old jobless felon loser's life, and that his 3-year prison sentence was him pushing a girl off him. Well, that girl happened to be in the comments. I contacted her and told her what he was doing in my town. She asked me for my friend's name, he choked, and I gave it. They talked. Later, she posted a tell-all. Everything. The threats, the grooming, the child Colleen Ballinger station, the physical violence, the sexual violence, the assault, the strangulations, the night he nearly killed her. This enraged him. He started messaging me and I called him a sick fuck and told him to self-terminate. He kept asking for my Snapchat. Now, if you don't know, Snapchat has a GPS locator. It was the 4th of July. He was trying to come to my grandma's house on the 4th of July to discuss things with me. He got really lucky, I'm not a fool, and a lot smarter than someone a decade older than me, because if I fell for his dumb trap, he would have been either beaten to a bloody pulp by a bunch of drunk Mexicans or shot. And I don't want the blood of a degenerate Minecraft YouTuber Chris Chan on my sweet abuela's hands on our great day of freedom. I pretty much ruined his life. The cat was out of the bag. Everyone knew everything and hated him and started threatening him. He began to obsess over me and constantly post about me. He made fake images and falsified stories of me attacking girls and spray-painted my name around town. Unfortunately, I lost friends over this, and I had to quit my job because he was sending this shit to people at my work. Anyway, I blocked his ass, and I know little of what he's up to now. I know that nobody talks to him besides serious degenerates, including other Minecraft YouTubers and Chris Chan, 3 I know of. He has a girlfriend who is 20 years old and batshit insane. Already had a public domestic dispute with her, including broken windows, and been to jail for it. He beats the hell out of her. They had a child together and named it Satan. I'm not kidding. This is his 3rd child with 3 young girls he's been documented to have physically abused. They want to move out of state because it's not safe for him to go out. He has pissed off a lot of male relatives / BFS and has been threatened at least 10 times. He still doesn't have a car or a job, but a psychotic 20-year-old girlfriend and a baby named Satan. So good for him. I hope I'll be like him in 10 years. I'm jealous of him after all, as he says. Hopefully someone besides a 20-year-old college senior can put this sad sack of shit out of his misery. Until then, I expect many more young girls to be assaulted and beaten. Maybe he'll name his next kid Moloch.
Alright guys, I have a story. This happened to me a few years ago. I want to hear what you guys have to think. Be me, 16-year-old boy. Have friend, also 16. Friend is convinced he is being followed by a demon, but when he moved in with his dad, it stayed at his mom's. Decide to stay over later at his mom's. Bring some dank to have a 2-person party. Also bring my throwing knives to throw around in the forest. We smoke, but he starts to sketch out cause he's scared of his mom's. Decide, hi, let's go to forest and play around with throwing knives. Get there high as balls. He starts acting spooky, laughing, twitching and being hysterical. I thought it was weird, but nothing to be alarmed by. He starts being violent and dangerous, throwing the knife wildly. Whoa dude, calm down. Looks at me smiling with a seriously evil look in his eyes. Start getting a little freaked. He dashes at me and puts the knife against my neck, snickering and mumbling under his breath like a schizo. I'm caught off guard, swipe my knife at him. Just to scare, not to actually hit. He dodges and then gets into like a fighting stance, snickering, taunting and staring at me, like he wants to have a knife fight. I start to back up towards the path, trying to talk him down, not turning my back to him. It feels like he's playing with me. He follows me as I back up, getting close enough to me so I can swipe at him, then backing up again. I eventually started running. He pursues yelling, the non-stop, "You're gonna trip and fall on your knife," in his normal voice. I turn around continuing to back up, but as soon as I stop, he goes back to being evil. This repeats. I got out of the forest. He comes out of the forest after me acting completely normal, and gives me the knife. Freaked out. G0T back to his place, he instantly goes to sleep, wakes up in 5 minutes saying he doesn't remember anything. I'll never forget the look in his eyes though, it was so terribly disturbing, so purely and truly evil, haunting.
I met someone who murdered multiple people, some just for fun. A gangster with connections to glowies, church, organized crime, and politics. He had a nice face that could shift instantly to one of an angry animal's. I once shook his hand and I tried to avoid too much eye contact. It was a terrifying experience. You can feel the pressure. You are afraid of him noticing that he may know you know his true self. In his youth, early 90s after the revolution in Romania, he killed one guy but was convinced the judge was unintended. He spent 2 years in prison and LARPed as a priest there in order to make less time. I think the penalty was more than 2 years. He migrated to Italy, did some jail time for stealing. A few years there and stealing was his only occupation. He moved home, still continues to work with organized crime, contraband, international stealing organizations, and local corruption. He was the man used by the politicians and glowies to do their dirty jobs. Killed more people, assaulted women, beaten people almost to death. He wanted to become a priest and take over a big monastery in order to get more power and influence, but the priests opposed him and he had a violent conflict with them. I saw him in pictures with an important pro-Russia figure of our church. Again, a person was killed. He posted on Facebook that he was offering a reward for someone to give him information about the killer, only to find out that police arrested one of his men for this. He got involved in the security business, opened a company for security services and training people. He represented our country at an international competition of security guards. He had a lot of pictures with one guy from Armenia that had a lot of connections with the military, and some of them even fought in that Armenia-Azerbaijan war. Most likely his company trained those guerrilla fighters for Russia. His sister-in-law hangs herself. Our tradition forbids priests to hold ceremonies for the self-terminated. But he pressed the church to hold a big ceremony with 7 priests like she was some kind of saint. He died 2 weeks later in a car accident.
My paranormal sightings after finding a weird image on the web. Hi, I will recount a disturbing childhood experience that took place in the early 2000s. I really want you guys to know about this because I just remembered about it today. During my childhood years, as the internet was still in its infancy, I often found myself diving into the obscure depths of cyberspace, fueling my fascination with the unexplained. It was during one of these late-night excursions that I stumbled upon an ancient and little-known website, shrouded in digital obscurity. Its layout was simple, cryptic even, with faded text and eerie symbols scattered across the screen. Within its digital archive, I found an image that held an unnerving allure. This enigmatic photograph depicted what appeared to be an abandoned room, bathed in the dim light seeping through drawn curtains. A sense of desolation lingered within the image, a chilling silence that belied the unknown secrets it held. Intrigued by its mysterious origins, I delved deeper into the depths of the internet, desperate to uncover its story. Little did I know that I was about to unravel a nightmarish sequence of events that would forever haunt my memories. The night in question began like any other. My family settled into peaceful slumber as the house fell into a still silence. It was during the darkest hours, when shadows cast by the moonlight danced upon our walls, that I awoke to an overwhelming feeling of being watched. Every fiber of my being screamed with unease as a strange energy permeated the air. Guided by an inexplicable compulsion, I ventured through the silent hallways towards the room where our family computer resided. As I tiptoed closer, a sense of trepidation gripped me, amplifying the weight of the impending encounter. With bated breath, I entered the room, only to be greeted by an unsettling sight. The computer screen flickered to life, casting an eerie glow that filled the room with an otherworldly aura. The image I had discovered on the obscure website materialized before me, but this time, it carried an inexplicable intensity. The room in the image seemed to mirror our own, transforming into a dimly lit sanctuary of eerie familiarity. A disquieting silence enveloped the room as an air of malevolence crept through every corner. Whispers, too faint to discern, mingled with the faint hum of electrical currents, sending shivers down my spine. I felt an unseen presence, as if eyes watched my every move. The image on the screen seemed to pulsate with an unspoken invitation, luring me further into the unknown depths. Fear clutched at my heart as the line between the mundane and the paranormal blurred before me. Shadows twisted and contorted, casting elongated forms that seemed to mimic the wandering spirits trapped in that haunted image. Each hesitant breath echoed within the room, creating an eerie symphony of unease. I stood frozen, unable to tear my eyes away from the haunting scene unfolding before me. Time seemed to lose its grasp as the night unfolded in complete defiance of the logical world I once knew. Yet, as dawn approached, the supernatural presence gradually dissipated, leaving the room empty and unremarkable once again. In the aftermath, I found myself haunted by unanswered questions and an unshakable unease. The image, once captivated by its mysteries, had brought an unwelcome intrusion into the sanctity of our home. To this day, I remain uncertain of the true nature of those events, but their impact continues to linger, forever etched in my memories.
I've met all sorts of shitheads, screw-ups, douchebags, and narcissistic pricks in my life, but I don't think I've ever met someone evil. I did manage to piss this guy off because he wasn't so keen on rule following. Come to find out he just bonded out for like murder too. It's a state where murderers get bonds. Guy was probably armed at the time too. Guess he couldn't afford another 10K worth of collateral for another murder charge. Also had to associate professionally with all sorts of criminals, blue and white collar, which was sometimes hilarious, but mostly crap. I did meet a guy who was an OG 1970s Crip who had 7 convictions for felon in possession in a 15-year period. This guy would get convicted, plead it down to a misdemeanor. Did 18 months probation and 30 days in county, then got arrested almost immediately after and repeated. There must be a lot of evil people on the streets of Los Angeles, because those idiots in the district attorney's office don't do anything. I saw a lot of greed and stupidity, but not evil. Blessed, I guess. I did end up getting a really developed sense of intuition, and I can tell pretty quickly when someone isn't quite right. Unfortunately, that's at least 20% of people I run into, it seems.
I was in jail, pretty calm in our zone. One time, someone came in and the cell block tried to ask him why he was in there. From the first day, I saw a black cloud around him and I could feel his dark energy. He was arrested for administering a huge Minecraft YouTuber network, I later learned. He was in our block for 2 days. We did not realize before he was moved to the Minecraft block. They shield them in their own block apart from the other inmates. That was a chilling meeting. I was talking to him and still remember the dark cloud around him. To add, there were also killers in the block, but nothing compared to this true evil.
I am noticing many people in the truth movement fall down the black-pilled rabbit hole, thinking that everything is evil, Satan. Everything is a conspiracy. Everyone is controlled opposition, and there is definitely true evil out there in the world. And there is much being hidden from us. And what the government is doing is way worse than we think. The evil out there is becoming more obvious with those who have eyes to see. But when you fight against external evil without conquering the evil within yourself via inner work, shadow work, you can easily become the evil you fight against. This is, in essence, how shadow projection works. You need to understand the monster within you to fight the monster out there. You need to tame that monster within yourself so you are its master, not its servant. With so much darkness, projection, hatred out there, have you ever asked yourself, what am I contributing to that mix? Are you adding to the cycle of suffering, confusion, samsara, or are you seeking ways to remedy it by remembering your true nature? Because the alchemist knows that all deep suffering, all confrontations with darkness, hold the seed of immense creative energy. That creative energy is unlocked not by blaming, projecting, and disempowering ourselves, but by looking deep within. If you stare too deep into the monster, you risk yourself becoming the monster. Remember in your heart that there is a divine spark that will light the way home. We are in intense times, but the darker the world gets, the more the potential for immense alchemical transformation. This is a war over our souls. If you can face the darkness, within and without, while keeping your heart open and your soul intact, you can use these times for spiritual transformation. If you can't and instead gaze into the abyss and become it, you become the monster you fight against.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.
There's also a Rumble archive as a backup.